Hey guys, this is the LarryBoy Fanatic, and today I'm going to share my top 7 villains from the LarryBoy videos. Now this video is suggested by Fanatic Mitchell, so thanks man. And I also want to say before we get started, villains from the VeggieTales in the House and City shows are ineligible, so that means villains like Potato and Apricot, who's nothing more than somebody trying to be like the bad apple, will not appear in the countdown. You'll understand why if you watch my second LarryBoy Purgatory video. Sorry, no spoilers this time. So, I'll only be looking at the villains from the classic VeggieTales series and the Cartoon Adventure series. Though, to be fair, Potato and Apricot get honorable mentions. But anyway, let's get started. Now up at number 7 is the Alchemist. Gosh, I hate this villain with a passion. Now that's not saying that he doesn't do anything in his video. Well, he kind of just stands there while his mother does most of the talking, so yeah, he does absolutely nothing productive. If you want to be a serious villain, then leave your mom at home. This combination was a failure from the start. At first, the Lego My Ego episode makes you think that he's working on his own, but then the villain shows that there's a second person involved. Not a friend, not a minion, but his mother. Like, that's it. You killed the video by doing that. And like I said, she does most of the work and the talking, while that brilliant son of hers just stands there and tries to act intimidating. Now, as much as I like the design of this villain, that doesn't save this villain from getting the lowest spot on the countdown. I mean, seriously, a mama's boy. That's shameful. Going on to number 6, it's Dr. Flurry. This villain is somewhat better than the Alchemist. Now I say somewhat because this villain falls flat too. But instead of a mom tagging along with him, it's 3 penguins. Also, this guy is more of a pansy rather than a potential threat. Well, yeah, sure, he attacks Bumbleyburg, or a fake version of it, since the League of Incredible Vegetables wasn't man enough to get the city backdrops from LarryBoy and the Bad Apple. And he uses his fear dar to freeze people. But the problem with this villain is that he admits to being scared of the heroes and being captured by them, all because of his past crime of stealing ice cream. You heard right, he stole a bunch of ice cream. He even calls it
a Grand Theft Gelato.
And above all, the design of this character is so generic. Rather than giving us a villain with an original story and an original character design, they go with the mad scientist cliche. Now up at number 5 is the Fehb from Outer Space. Being the first monster character in the LarryBoy video library is an accomplishment, because this was VeggieTales' first original antagonist that our hero gets to take on. And I say original because of what this monster does. He's a space alien who gets his power from a victim telling lies, along with more and more lies. I call it the Pinocchio effect, because instead of a long nose, we get a small alien growing every time Junior Asparagus tells a lie. And once he's big and bad, he kidnaps Junior and terrorizes the whole town. So I guess the only downside that this villain has is that he doesn't do much damage, and he doesn't scheme a whole lot, but rather he improvises. One example of him improvising is when LarryBoy decides to go after him and he immediately heads for the water tower. Now I call it improvising because he's going around, he sees somebody and immediately does something about it. However, if he was a little more threatening than what he shows us in his video, then he would have made it a step further on this list. But now going on to number 4, it's Greta Von Gruesome. This had to be the rare jewel that the Cartoon Adventures had, because 1, her fantastic character design, and 2, what she does that makes her a good villain. First, let's talk about the character design. She looks pretty badass if you ask me. The armor, the power gloves, and the rest of the attire. She looks pretty cool in my book. But with that said, she has to be downgraded because the story that she's in, well, the story, it sucks. I mean, really? Kidnapping yodelers? Seriously? So because the story is half-assed and Greta is part of it, it ruins her chance of being in the top 3. Though, to be fair, she has a castle that she takes her victims to, and she takes herself more seriously than the other villains in the cartoon adventure series. In other words, she's more of an adult than the Alchemist, and she's more sane than Awful Alvin. And that's why I call her a rare gem in the series. Now up at number 3 is Awful Alvin. He's weird, he's threatening, and... did I mention that he's weird? But the strangest thing about this villain is that he seems to have a bit of a fan base. Just Google him and you'll see a lot of fan art about this guy. But anyway, I say that he's weird because 1, he talks to a floor lamp. 2, he has this demented personality. And 3, is it weird to say that this villain may be the weirdest thing to come from one of the best animators of all time, Tom Bancroft? And his name even says it all. Awful Alvin. I can't argue with that one. Now up at number 2 is the Rimmerweed. Before the Bad Apple video hit the scene in 2006, I had originally felt that the Rimmerweed was the scariest villain in the LarryBoy universe. The reason being is that the Rimmerweed has an army of weeds. That's called an infestation, by the way. And she goes as far as attacking our hero physically to where he ends up with bruises and band-aids. And the ultimate goal for this weed is to take over Bumbleyburg with her vines and to help 2 kids ruin a man's reputation. When you think about it, that can be scary. Though I guess the only turn-off for this villain would be the cliche character makeup. Her hairstyle and glasses make her look more hilarious than scary. And finally, for number 1 is, of course, the Bad Apple. Give it up for Temptation as a talking apple. She has everything. The looks, the seductive nature, and the gadgets that help her create the illusions. The reason why I put her as number 1 on the list is because this was VeggieTales taking risks with a character. And it was reported that the creators were afraid to make her scary by having her legs pointy, so they had to make them less pointy. Especially when you have a scene where she threatens to jab someone's throat with one leg. But all in all, the Bad Apple is everything that all the other villains on this list aren't. Bold. If you're bold enough to trick more than one person, if you're bold enough to sneak your way into the Larry Cave, if you're bold enough to have a well-choreographed fight with the hero, and if you're bold enough to cop a feel with 1 or 2 people, hands off my Larry boy. And if you're bold enough to even do this to your henchmen, then you definitely have my attention. And although there's no LarryBoy and the Bad Apple sequel to speak of, which sucks when you really think about it, it's sad to see a great villain go to waste. But whatever, the Bad Apple in my book is my number 1 LarryBoy villain. So that was my top 7 list. Now, sorry if it wasn't a top 9 or 10 because, like I said, the villains from VeggieTales in the House and City were ineligible for this list. Though I gave them honorable mentions, so that's okay, right? Right. But as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on this video and please subscribe for more content. I know that the LarryBoy Vlogs Month videos have been doing well, so thank you so much for watching. And until next time, this has been the LarryBoy Fanatic, the eyes and plunger ears of the LarryBoy universe. See you guys!